Hi everyone, this is Danielle with Elevation Studio, and today we're going to practice the Pilates leg series. This is a great little series that you can do to supplement your other practices. Some days when you need a little bit extra support from the outer inner thighs or support to the pelvis and the spine. So you can add this in. The things we'll be using today are a blanket or a towel, the Pilates ring or magic circle, and a yoga block for stability. So those are the items we'll use, and I hope you enjoy this practice. We're going to do this together and take those deep breaths throughout. So let's get started. We're going to start on our knees with the blanket as padding. So just find your towel, your blanket, and kneel on it. Take your yoga block and set it up to one side. I like the tall setting, but you're not pressing down on it so much that you're relying on it and sinking into your joints. This is here for stability and height, just a little balance. So be light on the block, also that it gets wobbly. So just have a nice, grounded press into it as well. The other leg, the top leg, will be our working leg today. You're going to extend that out to the side, curl the back toes under, and press the toes into the floor for stability. That will help. Before we get started, we're going to take those deep breaths in. That space between the ribs and pelvis expand in this breathing. And I want you to draw the navel toward the spine the whole time so you have support to the spine. Okay, now we have the extended leg. Bring that top leg up, stabilize the upper body. We're not going to sway back and forth with the upper body, so this is where the core really supports. Top leg doesn't have to be too far off the mat in the lift, but we're going to point and flex. So you're going to point and flex. Just alternate a point and a flex in the foot as it comes up and down. And we'll start to turn it on. You're really creating this precise movement, this lateral lift in the top hip for the inner outer thigh. You should be feeling those muscles starting to fire. You can reverse the flex and point, right? Just that you're moving that tissue in the ankle. We're starting to feel the heat. So keep breathing. Breathe out through the mouth when you need to, right? And we're lifting and lowering again with a steadiness. Now check in with the side that you're leaning into the block. Are you collapsing into the shoulder? Lift your heart. We want there to be a buoyancy in the chest. Keep going. This is how this series works. Okay, and then we're going to pause that. Bring that knee in just for a little rest, and then come on back. Okay, the pendulum swing, we're going to bring that working leg front to back. So a nice, easy swing. Stabilize the pelvis, stabilize the upper body, lift the heart. I'm pointing and flexing here again, alternating that movement in the ankle. Just point and flex, alternating. Again, the leg that's working does not have to be so high off the earth to feel this. Breathe. Breathe. A few more here. We don't get a lot of these lateral movements in our life, this picking up, using our own body's weight and resistance when we walk, because one foot goes in front of the other. These are different movements. Pause, bend the knee, come on, back down. Okay, so come off your blanket or your towel, set that to the side, get out of the way so you can see. Bring your magic ring to the mat. Line your hips up to the back edge of your mat. It's a good line to use for stacking the hips. And your feet or legs will come out in front of you at a diagonal. You place your feet inside the ring. Bottom foot holds the ring up by flexing. So that's going to flex, hold the ring upright. And then you come on down to the back edge, stacking your hips, top hip right over the bottom. Watch that because it will start to roll back in this series. Press down through your forearm. Lift the chest. This is another common thing that we don't think about in the leg series. We start to sink into the shoulder joint. So this actually becomes an upper body workout as well. So now that we have our legs in place, flex both feet. top leg comes into the top of the ring from inside, and you start pressing into the ring. The ring is steel. It's already full of resistance, so that is starting to work again into the muscles. We feel this in the inner outer thigh. Avoid, again, that roll back that we tend to do just out of habit, really just our patterns of the way we sit and stand and move. Right? Draw the navel to the spine as you pulse. Keep pressing into the floor. We're really working strength into the shoulders. Again, here, shoulder joint, and these little pulses of life. Try to smile through the series with me. I'm with you. Okay, and then take this top leg, keep it inside the ring, point and flex the foot, and start to circle. We're not touching the ring on this. I want you to think about this leg going way beyond where it's reaching. I like to think if we're painting with our foot and the canvas is just beyond reach and we have to really extend the leg. So there's energy in the extension here. Micro circles for the rotation, the mobility of this top hip. Take it the other way. So we're going in both directions and we're trying not to touch this circle. We have lots of great nicknames for this magic circle. You can come up with your own. But it really is a helpful tool of alignment and obviously resistance. We've already experienced that. Okay, and then we're going to pause that. Take the top leg outside the ring. This is tracing the circle. The top hip is going to go through internal, external rotation. First, the external rotation where we touch the heel in front of the ring. You trace your circle and internally rotate the top hip so the toe touches behind the ring. Again, prop it up, lift the heart here. We get tired, we start to sink. So we're going to go heel and toe. Heel and toe. External rotation, internal rotation. I want you to exaggerate that in that top hip. Heel, toe. Heel, toe. Front, back. Bottom leg is your anchor, right? It's holding that ring upright and it's anchoring the pelvis. We always need an anchor or a place of stability when we're working specific areas of mobility. Heel, toe. Heel, toe. Heel and toe. One more. Heel and toe. Beautiful job. We're going to move the ring now. We'll use that later. Okay, and the top leg comes off the bottom hip height. Bring that top leg forward, flex the top foot, bend and flex the top knee, press the leg back on a diagonal like you're pressing into a wall. You're going to feel this in your glute, and then back together. Top leg forward, bend, flex, press back, together. Bicycle forward, bend, flex, press back, together. Forward, bend, flex, back, together, forward, bend, flex, squeeze it back, together. Really accentuate that squeeze, back, together, reverse, back, knee bends, draw it forward with your core, extend, together, back, bend, forward, extend. Watch the top body, the upper body from swaying in this one, right? We want to imagine we have a teacup filled to the brim, balanced on our shoulder, right? And we're not spilling anything. Let's take this one more time. Back, bend, forward, extend, and together. I'm going to take a rond de jambe. I like to trace a rainbow in this one, so you can imagine a beautiful rainbow that you'll be tracing the edge of. Take the top leg forward. Imagine this semicircle or rainbow and start to trace it with your foot and go with that extension we were using earlier. There's going to be a little adjustment in the internal external rotation as you move and trace this leg around the rainbow. As you lower, use the inside of the leg, the adductors, to lower it down steady. Let's reverse or trace it back up. Go for the extension. You can point and flex the foot at the same time and return. Keep going. All the way around, nice and steady, slow. You'll notice you're trembling. I call that our dance. Lifting up and over. Navel to spine. Remember the core support. Press into your forearm. Keep lifting your heart. Tracing that arc or the rainbow. That's it. Front to back, back to front. Slower movements can really bring us great resistance with our own body's weight here. So just slow and steady. That's it. And one more time back. Woohoo! And then we'll bring that leg back to the other. We're going to take that top leg, tap it in front of the bottom foot. 1, 2, 3. Toss it up with energy. Tap behind the bottom foot. 1, 2, 3, and lift. And tap, 2, 3, lift. 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 1, 2, 3, and lift. Bend your knees, press your way up. We have a whole other side. So blessed with our 2 legs, 2 hip joints. So move your circle to the other side where we'll eventually be using it. Find your block, set it up again, and your knee pad. Okay. Now we just worked the base leg. So that's going to be a little bit more challenging. You're going to feel the heat, all that activation in that base leg on this side. Extend the new working leg. That's your other leg. Just make sure you're on your other leg. And again, we're not pressing down and collapsing into the shoulder. Lift the heart. Lift the working leg up. Point and flex. Stabilize the upper body. Navel draws into spine. You're still breathing diaphragmatically, nice and big, through the front and back and sides of the body. Don't hold the breath up in the throat, or don't hold the breath at all. Breathe and stabilize from the core. We're pointing and flexing as we lift. Point and flex. Point and flex. You can curl those back toes under for more support into the floor. Point and flex. Again, lateral lifts are challenging. If you've done this for 1 week or 10 years, it's going to feel the same. Right? They're challenging because these lateral lifts, because we don't use our body in this direction too much. Makes sense. Lift and lower. Okay. Ooh, take a little neutral breather, a little shimmy. Okay, we're going to take that pendulum swing, bring it up and forward and back. Again, the leg doesn't have to lift very high to feel this. Accentuate the extension of the leg and a nice fluidity through the hip. Again, our anchor is our pelvis, our core, and we're resisting the sway. We're resisting spilling the tea from our shoulder. So isolate there. Woohoo! Feeling it on these, always. Forward and back. Forward. It's so hard to isolate. It's easier to swing the upper body, right? That's how the body knows how to compensate, but we're isolating. Bend that top knee, bring it down. That becomes our working top leg now, the one that was just swinging. So let's move to our ring. So come down to the back edge. I really want you to use that back edge as a line. Set up your ring. Legs are out at a diagonal, right? Top and bottom foot inside the ring. Bottom foot stabilizes. Flex both feet. Press into the floor through the forearm. Lift the heart and start to pulse that top foot, that top leg into the top of the ring. So watch the alignment here. Refill up your teacup. And pulse. How you guys doing? Are you breathing? Try smiling now. We're on the second side. It's almost over. Keep pulsing. Pressing away. Nice neutral hips in this position. Yeah, and when you see this, when you watch it, and you're not doing it, it doesn't look like much. But when you're doing it, you can feel it. Okay, we'll take that top leg, keep it inside the ring now. This is where we're inside rotation. We're not touching the ring. point and flex, and extension in our circling. So micro circles, micro rotation in the top hip. Imagine that, again, you're painting with this foot and you can barely reach the canvas with your brush. So you really have to extend the energy. And reverse. So the great thing about all these classical Pilates movements is that they work. They're really efficient and they're really effective if they're done right. So that's why all of the alignment cues are really important. And you don't have to do a lot all day long to feel the results, the strength, the mobility, the fluidity. That's what I love about it. Okay, and then pause the circling. We're going to trace the circle. The top leg comes outside the ring. Heel in front, external rotation, trace the ring. Toes touch behind, internal rotation. Exaggerate that rotation in the top hip. So we take it front heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Top hip really wants to roll back, so make sure, again, your hips are stacked. Heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Front, back, and one more. Front and back. Okay, again, we're going to move that ring to the side. Bicycle, take the top leg hip height up off the bottom leg. Bring it forward, bend the knee, flex the foot. Here's our diagonal back. Really feeling this in the glute. Press it back, and then together. Here we go. Forward, bend, flex, press back, together. Forward, bend, flex, press back, together. Forward, bend, flex, back, together. Forward, bend, flex. Squeeze it back, together. Squeeze it back. Bend the knee. Draw it forward with your core. Extend the leg. Together. Back, bend, forward, extend. Together. Take it back. Bend, forward, extend. Together and back. Bend, forward, extend. Together. One more of these. Forward, extend. Together. Okay, rond de jambe, or tracing the circle. Bring that top leg forward. We trace the top of a rainbow. Let there be adjustment in the top leg, steadiness. You'll feel that internal rotation as you steady the leg down behind you, and then trace it back up. And try to go for the biggest rainbow that you can trace, the widest arc here. Right? So we get that full rotation and mobility in our top hip. Watch the rollback of the top hip as you trace. Keep pressing into the forearm, lifting the heart, lifting the heart. I am dancing away my little trembling and shaking. That just means we're changing. So dance with it. Dance with it. Again, we're being precise, but we're still breathing. Strength with length in these movements, which is wonderful. Front to back. How steady can you trace these semicircles? And then just one more. And again, the leg doesn't have to be that high to begin with. You'll gain that flexibility, that mobility as you practice this. Toss up. Top leg taps in front. 1, 2, 3, lift. Tap behind. 2, 3, lift. Tap. 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 2, 3, lift. Bring it together. That was awesome. We have a little bit more to go. I promise, just a little bit more. And let's come to the back body with our ring. Press your feet underneath your knees so you feel the four corners of the feet. They're not too far forward. Walk them back. Take your Pilates ring or magic circle into the inner thighs. You can also do this with a yoga block if you don't have them. Squeeze the ring or the block so that the knees are back to hip width apart. We want a neutral pelvis here. Okay, and then press the upper arms down into the floor. You can bend the elbows and point the fingers up. Press through the four corners of those feet. Lift the pelvis into bridge. Typically in bridge, we're over squeezing the glutes. In this exercise, we're going to focus on the inner thighs. Just squeeze the ring and pulses here. Try to see if you can relax the glutes a little bit more. Lengthen the low back a little bit more. We have a beautiful back bend. We're strengthening the back here as we lift the pelvis or the hips. And this little pulse of life in the ring. Remember, these are steel rings, so there's a lot of resistance to work with. And maybe you begin with a block, maybe you start with nothing, or you squeeze a pillow and then work up to the resistance of a ring. Right? The point is that you are practicing, that you are getting into these strengtheners that give us so much balance in the pelvis, so much strength added for the posture of our spine and the flexibility of our spine. Pilates said, you're only as old as your spine feels. Keep pulsing here. So we want to pulse from that neutral in. We don't want to let the knees go out into external hip rotation. We're keeping the knees from neutral and pulsing it in and out from there. A few more. Lift and then lower down. We're going to keep the ring, just relax the tension in it. Take some breath. Whew. And then readjust if you need to, and come on back to your bridge beginning. So press down through the feet, lift the pelvis, right? Press through open the chest. We're still nice and buoyant and open-hearted here. This time we will activate the glutes by pulsing the hips up and down. We keep the ring or the block squeezed the whole time. So there's tension in it the whole time. It's loaded. And these magic circles have a fun history. Joseph Pilates was originally from Germany. He loved his German beer. And after his life's work, he was brought to the United States, brought to New York City to train, Max Schmeling, originally heavyweight boxer, but also a lot of dancers rehabilitated with him. And the one condition he had to have in his studio in New York was that he had to have his German beer imported. He would miss it too much. So he actually invented these circles from the rings of the kegs of the beer. He was really resourceful, and he used everyday items, household things around as tools. And this is pretty interesting because you can grab things from your house to use, so don't let that be an excuse. Right? You can always, if you don't have weights, use shampoo bottles or other things. You can use a pillow here to squeeze and then lift. I think this one is a little bit easier than a steel keg ring. We'll be thankful on that. And then lower it down. Beautiful inner thigh work there. So just remove your ring or your pillow, and we're going to stretch it out a little bit now. We'll take this bent knee position, cross the left foot over the right ankle. You'll make a figure four with this leg. Take your left palm into the left hip crease and just create some space. Keep your left foot flexed for the protection of your left knee joint. And then just create some gentle space by pressing this top leg away from the anchored bottom leg, and breathe. Feels really nice to get into that spaciousness, that stretch in the left hip. Relax the shoulders down into the earth. Woo, we deserve this beautiful cool down and stretch. Breathe. Let the earth support you here. And next, we're taking this top leg, crossing it right over the bottom. Draw the legs in, and we'll just give this bind a really beautiful hug. And this drawing in starts to increase the stretch through the outer thigh, the outer iliotibial tissue of the top leg. Circle the ankles so you find some rotation in those connective tissues in the ankle joints. This feels great in the piriformis and the glutes, all the muscles that we've been working in this series. Lengthen through the low back as it presses into the earth. Drop the heads of the arms back as the heart opens. A few more breaths. We'll take this top leg again, keep it in that figure 4 formation so the top hip stays open as we hug it in close to the chest and extend the opposite leg. You can also take your arms and hook the low leg towards you. You can wrap the right elbow into the left foot and give it a hug, and maybe hover this extended leg, which is in alignment from hip to knee to ankle. You can also just come back down with your head and shoulders, maybe down with the extended leg and hug in. So now we really feel the compression of this thigh bone into the hip socket, which lengthens the low back. So we're adding a relationship of grounding our thigh bone and lengthening the back body tissue, which is really helpful. Drop the shoulders back and breathe. We'll draw this left knee in. Always be careful of your knee movements. No jerky, quick movements. And then extend the left leg straight, more neutral now in the left hip. Keep that right leg extended in alignment, and we'll take a nice scissor stretch for behind the leg. Keep the hamstrings safe. There's common tears in this stretch when we lock the knee. I see it all the time with runners particularly. So you want to keep this knee soft, or this knee joint bent slightly so you can feel the stretch, but you're protecting or buffering the hamstrings. Lengthen the back of the leg through the calf as well. Ground the thigh bone, same as we have been doing, into that hip socket. Lengthen the low back. Feels so good. This is how we lengthen all of that strength that we just created. Hug this knee in, and this left foot comes down. Right foot over the left thigh, right hand into the right hip crease. We've created our number 4. Keep the right foot flexed. Create the space by pressing this figure away. You can recheck the alignment. Now your base leg is the left leg. Just make sure those toes are pointing forward. We're not bringing our habits of external rotation in. Let's keep it as neutral as we can here. There is the hip opening of the right side now, which is probably very different than our first side because our hip joints are very different. We don't need to match things, but we need to feel and listen and adjust to what we need. And this will inform our habits when we're off our yoga mat, off into the world, and how we tend to overuse one side of the body. And maybe that can translate into that awareness of switching sides a little bit more often. Cross the top leg over the bottom leg, hug the thighs in together, and draw the spine up. And give yourself a hug. Circle through the ankles and enjoy that stretch that's extending all the way through the glutes. Through that outer edge, outer seam of the top leg. That was really great. And then bring the left foot back down. We'll draw that top leg in. You can hook again the low leg or wrap the arms around the low leg, extend the left leg, and we find our supine pigeon stretch, which gets us deeper into that grounding or compression of the right thigh bone into the hip socket. So don't overdo it. If there's any, again, sensation that feels sharp or shooting or acute, we always back off of that. We don't want to feel that sensation. We want to feel something's happening. So there is that edginess of being uncomfortable or in new territory, which makes the change. But we don't ever want to feel something sharp or shooting. I'm going to come back down with my head. You can also practice hug in here. The right foot is always flexed to protect the knee joint. Draw that right knee in, neutralize the right hip, keep the left leg in alignment as you extend the right leg. And again, just drop into that right thigh bone down into the hip socket. Drop into the home of the right hip and extend the back. Right knee is soft, right knee is slightly bent as we stretch through the back of that leg. Close the eyes, let the face relax, bring a smile to the face after your well-deserved stretch series here, after your leg series and stretch. You'll feel so good for your day. And again, maybe notice the patterns or the habits of our hips and pelvis and spine, our postures that we take. So I hope that this will support you in that way. Maybe you'll do a little living room dance to celebrate these new hips. Bend your knee, give both knees a hug in to the heart, give yourself a hug, rock our way up. And I want to give a deep, deep, sincere thank you for joining me today. This is not an easy series, but I hope that you can supplement it with your other practices into your life to support you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.